Hello friends and fiends, and welcome to another episode of 31 Days of Halloween. Today's makeup look is an Illusion special effects based on Resident Evil 7. During the beginning of the game, the main character, Ethan, has his arm cut off, and when he next wakes up, it is stapled back together haphazardly. Everything I'm using today can be bought at a drugstore, so this is a very easy idea to do for Halloween. I'm first starting off by sketching out where each of the staples in the arm is going to be using a black eyeshadow and a very tiny brush. Then I'm going back and deepening up the space where the arm is disconnected. And Lula thought she would help for a bit. I'm using a reference picture screenshot from the video game to use as a reference. I'm also using a Wet n Wild palette. I'm using the transition shade in the bottom because it's a nice neutral transition shade that I can use to mimic shadows. I'm leaving a space between each of the staples and the separated arm piece, and I'm pulling the shadow away from that to give the illusion that the edges of the skin are standing up taller than the rest of the hand. I'm softly blending these to connect them over each staple. If you have a darker complexion, you can use a darker foundation color or a darker matte brown. I'm also taking that same color on a stippling brush and brushing that over my hand and down my arm because the hand in the video game is rather dirty. Now I'm widening these darker pieces to separate that skin even more. I'm taking a bit of my foundation and using that to give small highlighted portions in between each of these black spaces. There are parts of the arm in the video game that look almost like bone can be seen through them, so this is going to help give that illusion that there's more depth to the wound. I'm going back in with a black shadow and creating the shadow cast by the in and out points of each of these staples. You're going to roughly follow the shape outlined by where you already shaded the shadows of the skin. If it's easier, you can think of it like adding a little hat to the ends of each staple, leaving a tiny gap space that will act as the highlight. Once you have those shadows in, you can go in and darken one side of each staple. Depending on the perspective, you can choose which side and flip it for the underside of your wrist. Now I'm going in with a cream contour that's just a little lighter than the shadow shade I used. And I'm using that to blend in the eyeshadow and bring those shadows out even further. Since the reference image is digital, it does look a bit more dramatic than it would if it was a human prosthetic. So I'm mimicking that drama here. I'm also using that same color eyeshadow that we initially used to darken one side of each of these shadows. Now I'm taking a cream white color. You can use whatever will match the tone of your skin, and I'm doing this to go back over the highlighted parts that have gotten a bit muddy with our blending. Now I'm taking the red in this Wet n Wild paint palette, and this is a cream product, so I'm using that to add a bit of a red irritated look to the inner parts of both ends. We're also going to go back in with that black and just mattify that a tiny bit. This is also going to help darken that red color. Now with a mixture of these two grays from those Wet n Wild paint palettes, I'm going to paint on these staples. This has a metallic finish, so if you don't have a cream product like this, you could use a silver metallic eyeshadow, mix it with a bit of glycerin or water, and create a paste that's going to give you a similar effect. And that is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I had a lot of fun doing this type of look. Illusions are a lot more challenging than putting physically three-dimensional applications on yourself, but the look definitely pays off. Like and subscribe if you liked this video and if you're excited for the rest of 31 Days of Halloween. I will see you in my next video. Bye!